Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Uranus transiting the 12th house in a natal chart. Now, on average, Uranus will traverse a house for approximately 7 years. However, if your house size is a little bit larger than average, then Uranus will be in there for a little bit of a longer duration. If your house size is a little bit smaller than average, then Uranus will be in there for a little bit of a shorter period. Well, anyway, people, first thing I'll look at when Uranus is transiting one's natal 12th house, well, it could indicate that the person's private life may be going through a little chaos, so it might be somewhat tumultuous during this period. I'm having this transit right now, and I'm experiencing this to some degree. And it could be that there might be a number of unpredictable things that are happening in your private life, in the private sector of your life at this time. And saying at least the one thing about this transit is your private life probably won't be drab, boring, or monotonous during this period. Well, another thing is that when you look at this transit, keep in mind that Uranus, and looking at the 12th house, the 12th house is associated with hidden enemies or hidden adversaries. And this could be a time where one or more of these people may be unveiled at this point in time. And it could be very surprising and shocking. It could be somebody that you might really unlikely suspect. It could be even a close friend, a confidant, a family member, but whoever it is, and this does happen during this time, it's very likely it's somebody that might leave you at least somewhat flabbergasted. And it could be that a hidden adversary or enemy might be connected with the Uranus-like field. It could be something, could be an astrologer, it could be somebody connected in the computer industry and electronics, any esoteric subject, somebody in science or aeronautics. Now, another thing to look at too is that during this transit, keep in mind 12th house is about solitude and seclusion, and it could be that you might be doing something very strong with computers or electronics and privacy, more privately this time. You might, if you are an astrologer especially, you might be doing a lot more with the astrology in seclusion, in privacy at this time. This could be a time to, when you look at the 12th house, okay, the 12th house is associated with mental illness. It doesn't mean every time someone has a transit to this, they're going to develop something. But consider it. But you have to keep in mind, I think, Uranus is connected with the unusual, the unanticipated, the unpredictable, and the 12th house is associated with mental illness. So I think it does increase a propensity, very marginally perhaps, that somebody could have something developed during this period. But I think what you have to look at is if somebody already has a mental illness, well, what could happen is, if Uranus transits the 12th house at this time, maybe it takes a dramatic turn for the better, or maybe it becomes dramatically worse, or you might experience a lot of fluctuation with this. Now, this might be a time where you might experience a lot of upheaval in your private life during this period. Now, looking at the Uranus transiting the 12th house, this could be a time too that when you look at Uranus is about freedom and independence. And if you have it traversing your natal 12th house, this could be a time where you might be trying to extricate yourself from some kind of limitation or restriction that you feel might be inhibiting or prohibiting that freedom or independence. This could be a kind of, to some degree, maybe frustrating for some people, because this could be a time, because you look at the 12th house and that's associated with limitations and restrictions. And if you are, you're trying, it could be a time where you're trying to break free or have some independence in some way, shape, or form in your life. It might be difficult to find it during this transit. And When you look at this too, in some cases it could indicate perhaps some unusual clandestine relationship during this time, something that might happen very spontaneously and very abruptly, and something that might have a little bit of the bizarre or unusual connected with this. Now, you look at this too, and the 12th house is also associated. Well, we look at this looking at the 12th house, this could be about self-undoing. So the 12th house, if you have Uranus transiting it, and doing anything too outlandish, or doing probably wouldn't be a stupendous idea to do a high wire act during this time without netting, because doing maybe something outlandish or outrageous, there might be more repercussions on average or during this time, or greater propensity for having repercussions than it would be ordinarily. So anyway, people, well, it's also important to look at the aspects, if any, that are made from this transit to your natal planets and points during the time of this transit, as this could impact the transit. Now, let's say that transiting Uranus in your natal 12th house is making a conjunction to your natal Mercury. Well, this could be a period for innovative and ingenious thinking, perhaps. And being in the 12th, this might happen, a very good chance of this happening in seclusion and in solitude when you're by yourself. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that transiting Uranus in your natal 12th house is making a sextile or trine to your natal Venus. Well, this could be a time where you may initiate a new romantic or love interest. Well, being in the 12th house, perhaps you may be able to do this because you might be freeing yourself or extricating yourself from some kind of limitation or restriction in your life. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Uranus transiting the 12th house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about Neptune transiting the first house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.